Hi guys, how you doing? Glenn Giordano here again, and I had great response off the Motown video. I mean, maybe you can hear it. I've got a little cold. But I took today off from the day gig, and I haven't really played in a couple of days. I played tonight to finish up this video for you. I'm feeling better, going back to work tomorrow. But after the response, the comments all said about that last video, they love the video, but they think my little opening monologues are too long, so I'm going to try to shorten them up. So in the last video, I had said that I was going to do a tutorial on Green Earrings. That's a song by Steely Dan, played by Bernard Purdie, and I'm going to demonstrate that groove. But I ended up going down the rabbit hole a little bit as I got sick, and realizing that Bernard Purdie is so great that he deserves some time. So we're going to spend the next 3 or 4 weeks going over Purdie and some of his grooves that he made famous and things like that. But what I wanted to talk about in this one, via hence the title, is why the question becomes, when you have someone who's so great like that, you have to ask yourself, why is Purdie great? What makes him so great? Why was he able to play on more top 10 hits almost than any other recorded drummer? I think he is the one that recorded more, because he used to call himself the hit maker. As a matter of fact, so much so that when he didn't like producers telling him what to play, he had a sign he would put in the studio in front of his drums, excuse me, it said, "You're now working with a hit maker," that told the other folks to shut up and just, trust his instincts. So the question is why? And is it his time? It's good time. But a lot of guys have good time. He wasn't Mr. Paradiddle King. He wasn't Mr. Gospel Chop King. One of the things for me that I think makes him so great is the way he worked with his ghost notes. And that's what we're going to talk about. He had the larger beat whenever he would be playing, especially you hear this a lot with Steely Dan and with Aretha Franklin. He had the larger beat. Maybe that would be boom, ba, boom, boom, ba. Underneath that, he would have a little conversation between his snare and his hi-hat. Then another conversation between his snare and his bass drum. And sometimes he would even add the tom-tom. So he had 3 or 4 conversations going on as an undercurrent to the main beat. And this really moved it forward. This made it really danceable, makes you want to move. So we're going to talk about how do we have these conversations. We're going to go over some exercises you can do. And I just want to say this. So I do the exercises at 113 beats a minute at the end of this video. And there's a couple of moments that it's a little sloppy. I don't always do this exercise all the time. And I left that in because if you are doing an exercise and you sound perfect, it's time to move on. But you can see that I have a handle on what I'm doing and I have control over the kit. But yes, when you do this kind of exercise, you're going to have little things, so little problems that come up, and that's why you keep doing it, because we're never perfect. And on this channel, we don't do 87 takes. What you're going to be seeing in that last final clip is, I think, take number 3 on that little exercise for you. Okay? All right, so without any more ado, let's go right to the drum lab and talk about exercises you can do for your ghost note conversations. Take it away.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
All right, guys, welcome to the Drum Mission Drum Lab. Okay, we're talking about ghost notes and ghost note conversations a la Purdie. In other words, the conversations you can have between the snare and the bass drum, snare and the hi-hat. And what I'm going to show you right now are 3 exercises to get good, at least to a degree, this kind of thing. Okay? So the 3 exercises basically are going to be beginner, intermediate, and advanced. We're going to start with beginner. Now I'm going to show you the hand configurations first. And then I'll add the bass drum part, right? I'm going to demonstrate in totality
That's $1 million word, Pally. You're getting a little too big for your britches. Okay.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm going to demonstrate in totality the advanced one for you at the end, and I'll probably take us out with it at a good tempo. But for now, let's start with the ghost note. The idea of the ghost note means, at least to me, very little power on the snare, if any at all, right? You can do it by just opening your fingers. I've seen guys do it that way. Maybe depending on the tempo, just a very light. The lighter the better. The lighter the better. Spend time listening to some of Purdie's halftime shuffles. Even Bonham and Fool in the Rain, or Jeff Beccaro and Rosanna, and Dave Garibaldi, lots of tower power. Hold on, let me fix my collar. Dave Garibaldi, lots of that kind of stuff. To hear that touch. Now remember, ghost notes are also relative to the main beat. If you're playing your main beat very loud, maybe your ghost notes can be a little bit louder, depending on the band and all that kind of stuff. When you listen to Purdie, he does those ghost notes pretty darn quiet. All right. So once you get a hold of this kind of very powerless hit, very light, and you feel like you can control a little bit, and actually I think you gain more control by putting it in these exercises. And these exercises are really about gaining conversation. So here, the beginner hand configuration. If you're a beginner, your hands, we're going to make it very simple. No backbeat. We're going to do 16th notes, all the 8th notes on the hi-hat, all of the middle 16th notes, all the E's and does, will be on the snare. I'm going to count it out for you. I'll even probably put the numbers right up here, right? So you can see it, and you just want to get good at this and how it feels. And then later I'm going to add the bass drum part, okay? But I'm going to show you the hand configurations first. So here, this is for beginners to get good at this. Watch. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and... Now I'm exaggerating a little bit. Let me put a little more mustard on it so you can hear it a little clearer, okay? Not too fast, not too slow. Heard it? 1 E and the 2 E and the 3 E and the 4 E and the 1 E and the 2 E and the 4 E and the 1. You can hear as I went, I tried to really balance out those two sounds between the hi-hat and the snare. So, and I think in this room the snare sounds louder because of the echo of the walls, but I want the audience to have a hard time hearing the difference. Okay, that's hand configuration 1. Let's move on to hand configuration 2. All right, again, I'll add the bass drum part at the end. Bass drum parts are the same through these different hand configurations. And this is not going to, this is not the be-all and end-all of this, but this is going to give you some facility, you know, $1 million words again, on that conversation between your feet and your hands, your two hands, okay? So now we're going to add the backbeat on 2 and 4. We're actually going to do the hand configuration that Purdie did on Rock Steady. So your ghost notes, your ghost notes will be the E of 1, the duh of 2, the E of 3, and the duh of 4, and then we're going to add those backbeats on 2 and 4. Again, nice and slow, and then I'll do it a little more up tempo. Here we go. 1 E and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 E and 3 and 4. 1 E and 2 and 3 and 4. Now that beat has been done a gajillion times by different people, including Dave Garibaldi, but really you can hear it very clearly on Rocksteady. It's a little more intricate than that on Rocksteady, but not much. Let me do it a little more on up-tempo. Notice, the difference is here, is here, is here. And there's no way that my ghost notes are as quiet as Purdie's. He sometimes played them with his fingers, actually. All right, let's add the final one. This is the hardest one. This is for the advanced. So the first one was for beginners. The second one I just did was for intermediate. Here's a little more advanced. Now we're going to kind of do the beat that Purdie did on Kid Charlemagne. So the difference here is we're going to add that E after 2 and the E after 4 as a ghost note. So, which means you're going to hit 2 hard and then the E right after it very quietly. So here you go. I'm hitting that first 2 hard and then with no power at all, a little Another way to think of it is stroke, tap, stroke, tap, stroke, tap, stroke, tap. All right, so let me put that in the beat. In the beat. So we're doing the same beat we just did, adding that E. So the snare drum, ghost notes, will do the E after 1, 2 as a backbeat, the E after 2, the duh of 2 as a ghost note, the E of 3, 4 is a backbeat, and then the E of 4 as a ghost note, and the duh of 4 as a ghost note. So here we go, nice and slow. Let me count it. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and 3 and 4 E. All right, let me add a little more speed to it. So one of the things I want to try and do there is even on that, I want to try to make that second ghost, that ghost note on that E after 2 and after 4 as consistent as I can with the other ghost notes. So if they are, and I'm going to use some musical terms, if I'm doing those other ghost notes at 1P, which would be pianissimo, you can have up to 3 Ps in some, which is triple pianissimo, that's very, very, very quiet. Pianissimo, just 1P would be quiet. If I'm doing them all that way, I want to try to keep them all that way. Keep them all that way. All right, so those are the hand configurations. So once you graduate from number 1, you go to number 2, then you go to number 3. But you don't graduate on any of them until you add the bass drum. Now, I'm not going to bother with doing the bass drum parts on all those first 2. We're going to do it on that last one. All right, so we're going to keep putting the bass drum in different places to really begin to develop this conversation. All right, so let me start that groove nice and slow. I'm going to now do this exercise from that more advanced version of my hand configuration. I'm going to do it nice and slow at first, and then I'll do it again later, do the whole thing at a better tempo. The first 4 bars, the bass drum will be on all the numbers, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The second 4 bars, it'll be on the E of 1, the E of 2, the E of 3, the E of 4. The third set of 4 bars, it'll be on the and of 1, and of 2, and of 3, and of 4. And then finally the duh of 1, duh of 2, duh of 3, duh of 4. 4 bars at a time, right? Going all the way through, coming back to 1, nice and slow, beginning to develop that ability to place my bass drum anywhere I'm hearing it, anywhere I want to. Let's go for it. I'll start with just my hands, and then I'll add the bass drum, okay? And I'll put where I'm doing the bass drum so you all know where I am, okay? And just forgive me, I have a hard time sometimes talking to you while I'm doing this. So it's when I do, I mess up with my time and everything. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Just my hands at first. Here we go. Slow. So you can see it. Now bass drum. Go. There you can see, even going that slow, even I was stuttering a little bit. So one of the things you want to look for and you want to work on is making sure that when your bass drum plays a duh with your snare, they are exactly at the same time. And I'll tell you the truth, the slower you go, the harder it is. The slower you go, the harder it is. All right, phase 2 of this is double hits on the bass drum. Double hits on the bass drum. So I'm going to start with the samba pattern, Do1, moving that to 1E, moving that to E and then and by that I mean all four. So it'll be Do1, Do2, Do3, Do4 for 4 bars, 1E, 2E, 3E, 4E, 4 bars, E and, And the way I practice this, and that's what I'm going to do at the end, I'm going to do it for you with the metronome going, I don't know, somewhere around 118, 120 maybe, and I'm going to do it all the way through, But for now, let's do this last thing nice and slow, so you can see it, so you can hear it. Here we go. I'm going to start with the groove again. Samba pattern all the way through. Here we go. Let me tell you, doing that slow compared to doing it quick, way harder. Anyway, if you work on that, just like I did, slow, you'll get good at it. You know what? I'm going to work on it slow some more, because it was at. Let me do it up tempo now for you, with the metronome at 100 and, I don't know, 18 beats a minute, 120, something that's used. Something that's used a lot. Because even Purdie said, when the tempos got too high, he didn't like playing all those ghost notes. It's in his videos, because in his words, it becomes mishmash. Those are his words. All right, I'm going to reset up everything, get the computer, get the metronome going, all that stuff, and do the last bit of this, and take you out with that. I really hope you get something out of this. and I will for sure see you on the next one. Next week will be the Purdie Shuffle.
Hi everybody, how you doing? So, I've been a little under weather the last few days, and just to be, completely clean with everybody, not feeling up to snuff. Matter of fact, today was the best day that I felt. So I laid off the drums for a couple of days, worked my day gig. Matter of fact, today I took a day off from everything. So I want to make a little clarification. I'm going to do this exercise right now for you. I'm still not 100%. Hopefully it'll come out good, but I really want to try to get this video out tomorrow. I did some research. I was going to do this at 117, 118, but I could not find anywhere where Purdie did it at that speed. Rocksteady is at 98 beats a minute. Kid Charlemagne's at 105-ish. And Green Earrings definitely was not done with a click, because it starts around 112 in the first verse, second verse, and by the time they're done, they're up around 114. Right? So even pushing 115 at the very end. So that's why I say to you, being Mr. Metronome isn't always beneficial, because Purdie, history has told us he's great, and he is. And he's not Mr. Metronome. So I decided to do this at 113, because when I did try it at 118, it did sound, like Purdie says, a mishmash. It just didn't sound that good. So we're doing it at 113, which I even think might be a little quick for the groove I'm doing, but we're going to do it anyway and take you out with this. Stay tuned for more on this channel. Thank you for watching.
1, 2, 3, 4.